I don't consider myself a very good woodland photographer. It's a subject and it's a niche that I really struggle with, and I know from speaking to lots of other photographers that many of you guys struggle with this too. And what I found over the past year or so is that I've been processing all of my woodland images, or images containing trees. I've been processing them all in the same way using this particular technique, and this technique seems to lend itself so well to woodland photography, and so much so that this technique I pretty much exclusively use only on woodland images, or images, heavily treed. So this video is going to be short. It's going to be a short one because the processing technique is so easy to do, and I can do it whilst holding my breath. Now, credit where credit's due. I learnt about this processing technique from the fantastic Mr. Nick Page, who did a tutorial on this technique, and I'll link to it here. But what I found is I'm applying this technique exclusively to woodland photography or woodland images, and it just gives them a look, a certain appeal that works so well with that genre. The thing with woodland photography is we always pray for mist, because mist softens everything, and I think woodland images, they're full of mystery, they're full of secrets, they're very mystical, magical, and I love a good woodland image. I genuinely do. I'm not great at it myself, but a lot of the work of other photographers that I admire is all woodland photography, and it's fantastic. So this effect that I'm going to show you guys in a minute, it's a fantastic effect, and it adds a softness and an ethereal glow to the image, whilst at the same time retaining all of the sharp details. So it's absolutely fantastic, especially if you get some good colour and you shoot your woodland images at a wide aperture, so you get the softness and the fall off of focus of the background. Throw in this effect and you get yourself a beautiful look. It's very subtle, but I think it's very powerful. And another reason why I'm making this video today is because in last week's video and the video before that, the images had this effect applied, and a few people have asked about the effect. It's called the Olsson effect, but I prefer to call it the woodland soft yet somehow sharp effect, and it's really simple to do. So this is my edited image. You can see I've just done some basic adjustments: exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, the usual thing. I've adjusted the vibrance a little bit, and then if we go down to the HSL panel, you can see I've adjusted the saturation of my oranges, yellows, and same with the luminance, a touch of greens as well, just to give it that pop. And I've not really done much else to the image, a tiny bit of sharpening, but that's about it. Most of the work I'm going to do now is in Photoshop. Actually, I tell a lie, I'll give it a quick 1:1 crop, although actually looking at this, I did do quite like the original aspect ratio, but this is how I showed the image in my video. So now I'm going to quickly open this in Photoshop. So if I actually zoom into the image, I can just double check it, and it should be nice and sharp on the tree trunk and on the branches, which it is, which is fantastic. And then if I go over to the leaves and the foliage, you can see it's blurred, but that's fine. I wasn't concerned with the detail in the leaves. So what I'm going to do now is duplicate the layer, which is on the Mac that I'm working on, Command J, and now basically got two identical images, one on top of the other. And I'm going to apply a filter. I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur or a Gaussian blur, and you can see here it's at about 28 or 29 pixels, basically blurry enough so you can see the subject, but you can't see any detail. And then if I go into image and then adjustments and levels, then all I'm going to do is pull back these levels, really crunch the image. I'm going to almost burn out those highlights, as you can see there, and then bring in the black so that it gets really dark and contrasty, and it looks very bright and very sickly, and quite frankly, it's a disgusting image right now. What I'll do is I'll close that layer, and then I'm going to leave it and go for a cup of tea, and 5 minutes later I'm going to come back with fresh eyes. Now, I've brought the opacity down to 0 on the top layer. That's really important. So this is the original image, and if I bring up the opacity, not much, just sort of like 10%, 20%, and you can see there is a very subtle effect here at 13%. If I switch it on and off, you can see that. Let's drop it down to 11%, and then just by turning the layer off and on, you can see the difference that makes. It makes it soft yet sharp. It gives it a bit of a glow, and I think it's a very subtle effect, but a very effective post-processing technique, and it really is dead simple to do and works fantastically well with Woodland images. So there you go, that's the Woodland soft yet sharp effect, and I would definitely encourage you to try this on your next time you're out in the woods taking photographs and you get back to the edit suite. Definitely encourage that you try this technique. I think it's quite effective. One last thing I'd like to show you very quickly. In last week's video, I was talking to the camera and I mentioned how I felt the light change. I didn't see the light change because it wasn't that obvious. It wasn't like a sunbeam coming down and illuminating the subject. I just felt the light change. I felt a glow. I felt a change in light temperature. I felt the light change. When you look at the images, for the first image I shot of this scene, you can see here it's very blue, very cool, very cold. I didn't change the camera settings, or certainly didn't change the white balance. And then you compare it to this image, which is when I felt the light change. Look at the temperature difference there. It's fantastic. It makes the whole scene glow, and that was from a very subtle light reflecting off a cloud above my scene and illuminating my subject. So you have to be aware of these things. Not everything in landscape photography is obvious, but it can still be very powerful. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it's a bit short, but if you watched my last video, I've been sick, so I haven't been out shooting. But as you watch this video, I should be in Iceland somewhere, probably cold, probably wet, but having a great time taking some photographs. So tune in over the next couple of videos where I'm sure, no doubt, you'll see some Icelandic landscape photography, and as well as that, I should be using the Canon EOS R. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.